sanding them all day. I think I got 6 hours on it yesterday. So this is why the first stage of primer is so important. I knew I had pinholes in there, I just got sick of chasing them. It's just easier to see what you're doing when you've got a layer of primer on it. Also stops you like rubbing too far, because you know that where your surface layer is. Didn't want to rub that too far back. So we've got little bits like that. Got some pinholes along here, because this is this seam along here, you got to like fill that whole seam. There's part of the mould marks. The few marks here, these are off when I PVA'd the mould, because we had issues with this mould, and I wanted to make sure I had a good release, so I fired loads of PVA on it and it ran a little bit. So we got little pinholes, look, quite a big pinhole actually. Some along there. It shows up a couple of, I don't know whether you can see them, there's like a couple of scratches there. Some more pinholes over there. A little bit of a filler edge thing going on there that you can see. Can you see that? See it? Bit of a shape. And then I've filled around this window, and you can still see little bits that are needing doing as well. So you can't really see that, and it's very difficult to feel. So it's much quicker if you just prime it and then it locates everything for you. These are looking okay, but there's a bit. Now, edges, like crests, you got to be really careful of when you're sanding them, because you'll create flat spots on them. This one, you can see much clearer. The flat spot on there. So you've got to go in. Then this obviously just highlights everything really. There's 4 coats of primer on these. Pretty good. And at this stage, all your jobs get a lot smaller. You've just got that little bit to do. You've got that little bit to do. There's a bit there where the edge of the fiberglass lifted up. There's a bit there where the edge of the fiberglass was a bit dry. There's a little dip in there. See it? So now we're just chasing these. I fiberglassed over these holes because I wasn't happy with where I'd ended up elongating them too far. See that bit there? Needs tidied up, but you just can't see it when it's not all one colour. It's really, really difficult. The bumper, in the bumper mould, because we had a bad release from the bumper when we made the mould, and there was a load of stuff stuck inside, so we had to scrape loads of bits off. To see that there, that's where the mould got damaged. So all those little bits, there's 4 coats of primer on there, I should just be able to block over that and it'll disappear. Just little surface things that, you just got to deal with. That's in shadow at the minute, so you can't see it, but if I do that, see that there? You can't miss that, can you? So that's a mark that'll be in all of the bumpers out of this mould, because it's like a little recess in the mould. So you just got to be aware there's a high spot there and you need to knock it back. Again, crests, can you see lines running along it that way? Very subtle, but that needs gently blocked in that direction to get those out. And it's like I say, it's very subtle stuff that you just don't notice until you've got it all one colour. And through here, I'm going to be starting on the clam today, so I've got bits of filler on that seam there, I've got bits there. Obviously it's all trimmed up, but there's bits that I could see that needed filled. There's still more bits that I can see that needs filled. I'll just give it a quick going over. But when I was lining this clam up, this section here was a little bit low, like lining up to the roof. It was sitting a little bit low, so I ground that back a little bit, but that created a cavity, a hole essentially, a gap in that corner. So that's how to deal with a situation like that. Tape over it. That's hard now. I'll take the tape off and you can see. So you tape over it and then fiberglass it from the back. I put 3 layers of 300, I think it was. I wasn't really looking, it was just a bit of scrap. And now that's nice and strong in the back, and I can just put a bit of filler over there and it's sorted. If you tried to do it from the front, you would have had a nightmare. You wouldn't have been able to do it because you'd have to sand it all back and you'd end up with a hole again. So this way, all the strength's in behind there, and I can just put a little skim of filler over there and that'll be all sorted. So we've got all these edges to do. Like I say, I haven't filled all of them yet. I just whizzed round it with a bit of leftover filler, and I'll knock all them back. Again, you've got to tidy up these corners on your edges. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. Hopefully I'm going to get that into primer today. I might spend a little bit of time getting these panels back onto the car, because at this stage, before I go any further messing on with filler and whatnot, I just want to check the final alignment. I've done a lot of work to these doors, so I want to make sure they're all right. Obviously I've got all my pinholes to deal with, but once I've got the car back together, I can just make sure that everything's fitting right, and I can sort that out before I start getting on with bits of filler, just that if I do have to adjust anything, I can work that at the same time as I'm working all the other bits. Combination of get that sat back together and working on the rear clam. Hopefully I'll get that primed today. At the minute, I'm at 92 hours. So you can see what I'm doing here. Some of these are like full days, some of these are, well, not a lot of full days really, it's all bitsy, but some of them's like a couple of days together that I've stuck on, so there's only 4 hours there, there's 4 hours there, there's another 4 hours there, there's 10 hours there, but that was 2 5s, and again, like, it came through for 2 hours there, I think there's a couple of other 2 hours on there as well, but I'm not getting big swings at it because obviously I'm working. A bit of moisture on there, look at that, condensation. I don't get a big swing at it because I'm doing all this in between tattooing and everything else that I do, and so I just get the time that I've got and I just use it as well as I can. That's weird, that how like the wall's dry but the tape is wet. Strange. There hasn't been a leak. I've got loads of leaks in this garage. So yeah, I'm at 92 hours at the minute. I've been saying 250 hours. I think we're definitely going to be within that. But there's still lots to do, there's lots to do. I know that when last time I'd done the mesh, it took a day to cut the mesh and fit the mesh. Full day. Full day maybe being only 6 hours or something. It depends how long I got at it, but it took a full day, that's all I've done all day. So there's a day just in the mesh alone. So there's still quite a bit to go. I'm expecting, though, don't hold us to it, but I'm pretty sure we're going to be within 200 hours, even if I'm 50 hours ahead of what I was estimating. It's pretty good going, really. Like, if I can build one of these in 200 hours by myself, just by me, then you can probably do it roundabouts there as well. So I just want to give you an accurate timing of how long it takes to build one. And 200 hours is still a lot of time, but it's not 2,000 hours, is it? It's not 1,500 hours. Better get on anyway, because some of my time gets consumed with filming as well. I think maybe make a brew first away. It's all part of building the car. We can even count that time. I'm going to blow off the car as well. Get me the airline. Right, better get on. Right, so I trimmed off all the excess on this clam, but it doesn't mean that you've finished trimming. You're trimmed around the window and all the edges and everything. But I'm going to take that bit out of there just so that line flows into there and that line over there. So that flows into that. Same at this side. I've also still got a bit of wax, you can see better on here. So you've got this seam coming down here that you've got to deal with, but this all needs tidied up as well. Yeah, so that seam there. Around here, you've got some tape marks there that are going to need a little bit of filler, that's going to need sanded down first, but obviously this edge isn't straight either. Obviously you need to get rid of that wax. That sort of sticks out a little bit there, see how it goes out that way. I'll take that off, but I'll also sand that back so that this ends up a straight edge and then flowing into there. So I've got a bit of shaping to do there. Again, round here we've got some tape marks on there. This edge here needs tidied up. Got a rough bit in there. Not all of it needs sanded back, some of it you're gonna fill, so that like little recess there, I'll probably end up putting a bit of filler in there, but that needs straightened out, needs a little bit tuck off it, more at that edge. So I've just got a bit of shaping up to do to finalise, and with the clam upside down I'm able to just go around the inside edge of the wheel arch and tidy up these little bits here. Again, you don't want to try and sand it all away. I've roughed that up with 80, and then if there's any high spots I'll take them off, but a lot of them are low spots, so don't be too slow in getting the filler into it because you might sand away too much fiberglass. So before I start on the main panels of it. I'm just going to get all these edges sorted. You might think that this doesn't matter, that you don't really need to do it because it's on the underneath side and no one will see it. But when the clam's lifted up, it's literally at eye level, and you'll have people, you know, looking at it directly at it, and if you haven't done it, you'll be wishing that you did. The reason I took that out like that is because there's a bit of the chassis comes out like a box section, like sort of like the upper chassis leg, and when you lift the clam, if you haven't got that bit tuck out in there, it catches, so you've got to give that a reasonable bit of clearance.
if you wear glasses, I struggled with this for ages and I've finally worked it out. If you wear glasses, when you put your mask on, you tend to steam up because you get a bit of blowback through there. If you pull your glasses forward just a little bit, it seems to stop it. You know, airflow, whatever, I don't know, but just in case it's troubling you, it definitely helped me anyway. The only thing is, it screws up the focus, depending on what sort of glasses you've got, you know.
But it is a bit of a pain in the arse wearing glasses and doing all this sort of stuff, definitely. To the point where it made me want to get flipping laser eye surgery, but apparently I can't get it. So they said that I've got to have a lens replacement, which is the same as a cataracts operation, but you never have to have it done again after that. So I might do that. Anyway, tidied up those corners, took that bit out there, rounded that back corner off, flattened that back edge, because that leads into that, and that needs a trim back still. Obviously when I trim it first, it's just a rough trim, you leave a bit of extra meat on, so this is the stage that you're tidying it up. But yeah, flattened that back edge off, so it's nice and square, because obviously that's visible from the front as you're looking into the vent. And then just rounded that corner, cut it at an angle so you don't have a big pointy bit hanging out, so cut it at an angle, and then round that corner off. And all this I'm going to go around the edge with a bit of 40 grit, a bit of 80 grit, and just sand the very edge right the way along up the back of it, and that sort of just rounds that edge off right the way around, so you haven't got a sharp edge, because you will be handling it like I say, when you lift it up people can totally see it, and when you lift the back you want a nice edge on here, or else you'll be flipping hacking your fingers up, because that's the bit that you hold to lift the back up. But when you do lift the back up, like I say, that is absolutely at eye level, and it's one thing that people seem to like to look at and touch and stuff. Also at this stage, another thing to watch for is overcuts. Focus, you bastard. I've cut a little bit too far into there, I don't know whether you can see it. There, that little cut there. So what do? You can't grind that back any further, so that has to be filled. And you know, any areas where you're doing this final trim, be very careful not to overcut the line, because you're gonna have to repair that, or else you'll have a hack in the job. Well, it's 4:30, I'm knackered, so I'm gonna head home shortly. I've got nowhere near done as much as what I was hoping to get done, but I've ended up doing different stuff as well, so I ended up on the phone for about an hour, and I was trying to do stuff while I was on the phone at the same time, so I stopped working on the clam and filled some pinholes. I'll show you in a second. But this morning when I came in, I clean forgot that I hadn't really done any work around the vents, around the edges. I'd just trimmed off the roof, so I've spent quite a bit of time sorting out the edges, trimming off the roof, getting it all evenly spaced right the way around, filling all these edges, getting any little divots in. Got this shaped nicely now, so just round there and then round there, just it's a nice flowing line, you know. It just looks better rounding off the corners and having square corners. Those bottom edges done there. Started on these vents down here, they've got like a little seam. I need to sand these from the back as well, because they're a little bit deep yet. Because when you cut them out with the blade going in that way, but the line you really so what you end up with is the thickness of the fiberglass extra, so that needs the sander over the back of it just to bring it back a little bit. And there's a little channel there that was, so I've got some filler in there, just wiped it in with my fingy, filled around here, a couple of little extra bits in that I'm doing there. So that's pretty much done, and obviously shaped all this as well. Got that edge looking a lot nicer now, and it's all sanded as well, like, you know, so I can run my hand around there now and there's no sharp bits. I'm not gonna stab myself with a bit of spiky fiberglass or anything like that. It's all good. It's getting there, but nowhere near where I thought it would be. And because I had the filler out, I had a little bit left over, and I started filling pinholes, and then thought, sod it, I may as well just get onto the filling pinholes. I was going to leave that until I'd put it all back together and whatnot, but I thought, sod it, I'll do it, because while I was on the phone, I was able to do that for a bit. So still a couple of little ones that I missed. It's so hard kind of finding them all, and you know, but this was the worst door. And pinholes is something that you're gonna have to deal with, you know, so you know, be prepared. As you can see, these are just thin skims of filler now, you know, like everything's a lot smaller. There was a right bunch of them in that swage line there. And you go round, when you're doing this, you go round and round and round, and you find another bit, and then you know, so you've got to do it a few times, and you keep on spotting bits, you know. Nowhere near as many in this door. Some along the bottom edge there. That one looks like it could do with a bit more in it. So does that one there. Sometimes you even do it and it bloody doesn't work, if you know what I mean. You think you've got it in and you haven't. Pinholes on the front, and I'm just looking for any sort of, see that line there, that'll stand out, that doesn't need filled, but you're looking for bits that, see there's pinholes in there that you can't see it, can you, because of focus. Couple of tiny pinholes in there that I've missed, but you know, you can see that just looking into the wheel arch, so like it's got to look right, it's got to look smooth. No pinholes along here at all, everything's looking pretty good. There's a little bit of something to sort out there, see that? But that'll sand out in the 4-quarter primer that they've got on. Again, here I had to grind out a lump of stuff in there. It was just a bit of fiberglass that was lifting, but generally alright, just like little bits like this, little edgy bits like this. I've filled that dip there. Again, a couple more pinholes. Done some on the bottom edge of the bonnet as well. Just fill this back up. Bits like that. Just go, you know, go over it with an eagle eye onto the roof. A few bits and pieces to do there. That edge was looking a bit rough. And a little bit on there. Put the pinholes on there, and that's a classic case of I've filled a pinhole and we're blurry, but you see it? You can see it from there, surely. There's still one there anyway. I've filled it, and it's like I've said to you before, it's like an air pressure thing. Sometimes they blow it back out again, you know, with the paint, but it'll do it with the filler as well sometimes. A bit along that edge, a little bit on the front there. Same on the bumper. I've had a little bit to do on there and round here, and just looking for it. Like I say, at this stage, all the look at what I've missed there. You see that? Let's try and get it in focus. Let's see if we can zoom in. No, that doesn't work. That's changing the contrast. Never mind. There's a big old gash in it there. Damn it, Janet. And like I say, along the bottom now, I might trim this bumper back a little bit, but you need a bit of meat on this edge here. You don't want it like I've done the clam with, only like a 20mm of edge, because underneath here, the under tray sits into there and bolts through there. So you don't want to take too much of that off, or else you'll have no room for the under tray to fit in. So yeah, just little bits there. We're all over the place, but could have got that, and there's another pinhole there as well. See what I mean? You do miss them, so I've probably been around 4 times already, and there's still bits that I've missed. A little bit in there. A lot damn closer anyway. Like I say, I was hoping to get the clamp done today, but there's no point rushing it. And I think it's kind of like a regular thing. You think you're going to get something done in a day, and then you don't get it done. As much as you flipping try, you don't get it done, you know. So don't like beat the shit out of yourself because I didn't get this done today, got that done today. As long as you've made progress, you know, then it's a win, isn't it? Check that out. I was messing on with AI, just getting it to paint That's the RB200. I'm just getting it to tried a few different colour schemes and that. I'm trying to work out what colour I'm going to do that car. I don't know what colour I'm going to do this car. If a customer doesn't come along and say, right, I want to buy that car that you're building now, before it's done, then I think it's probably going to just end up white, because at some point I'm going to have to paint it. I'll leave it till as late as I can. I put a post up on my Facebook the other day on the Back Cars page, and you know, I asked what colour you would paint it in. Man, it got out of hand. Like, I was just asking for a colour, and we got everything from orange, blue, black, red, everything. But then it kicked off into colour schemes, and that's why my mate Muzz posted one that he'd AI'd in Gulf colours. And I was like, oh, do you know what? I like that. But the thing is, for this car, I need to paint it in a pretty neutral colour, because not everybody likes blue, not everybody likes orange. I was trying to see if orange got mentioned a lot, actually. To be fair, orange did get mentioned a lot. I was trying to see if there was a colour that was really popular with more people, but which I don't think there was. The colours were all over the place, and then it ended up into colour schemes. Then it went Rotherham's and, you know, JPS and like, they all look great, but it's not necessarily what the buyer, that I don't know who it's going to be, do you know what I mean? So it would be handy if someone stepped up and says, right, I'm interested in that car, and then we could paint it in the colour that they want it to be, you know, and then I don't have to think about it. But as much as thinking about it, as I'm either going to do it a colour or I'm going to revert to white. Anyway, it's coming on for 5 o'clock. Probably got here about 11, and I probably fucked about for a good hour. So let's say 5 hours today. So what does that put us on the... Let's go and have a look what the progress timing thing. So we're at 92 hours. I'm going to put 5 hours on it and say we're now at 7 hours. Made it put 95 then. So we haven't rocked over the 100, but I haven't got a tattoo in tomorrow, so I'm going to get a full day, or well, you know, a good swing at it. A full day being, generally it seems to be about 6 hours that I get on it. So we'll be heading over the 100, but I do think that we're going to do this, you know, within the 250 that I'd originally been estimating. I'm confident of that. I think we're going to be close to 200 though. There's still a lot to do. I know it seems like it's fair getting on, but all the making the under tray, the mesh took a day last time I'd done the mesh, between cutting the mesh, you know, like what I want to do is get to the point where I've got templates so that I can just make the mesh. But when you're making the templates and cutting the mesh and fitting the mesh, well, that took a full day. So yeah, I don't know, I reckon about maybe 180 hours. I think that's where we're going to end up, about 180 hours painted, done. We shall see though. So anyway, I'll be back tomorrow. Cheers for watching. Hope you're enjoying this. It seems like if you're watching these videos and you're not building one of these cars, sorry they're a little bit boring. Like, I've told Cubes not to do any fancy edits, no time lapse, no, you know, like just keeping it, because it's information for it's the build manual, you know. So anyway, I'll get off because it's taking time. See you later, bye.
I've just gone round the back of the vents, sorting these edges out where it was cut. I've done those ones. Just got the little sander there. I'm going around like that. I've had the power filing on a bit of it as well. Some of it you can't get to, but if you don't do it, they won't be straight. So when you've got your mesh there, you're looking in the vent and the lip's wonky, you know, so you gotta get in and do it. And some of it you might have to do by hand as well. Those are easy enough, those are fiddly.
So while I've got it jacked up, I've just got it on a stand there, you see, so it makes it easier to get in, work at these vents, you know, work the underneath side of stuff, and then you're not working with your head upside down, you know what I mean? And so it's a big help just flipping it over like that and working on it like that. But yeah, so you can get in with the block and finish it off once you've got it roughly right, and also you can get it bits like that as well. I've said you don't need one of these, but like you need something like this. Black & Decker power file is an example. You can't do that with the power file, you know, so like that is a very handy feature. When you're having to get into awkward bits, you know. way that belt's turn and the direction, if I've got it coming towards us, it's chipping the edge. So I was using the other side of it there, but again, another advantage with this, you can change the rotation of which way the belt's turning, which again is a massive help in certain situations. In fact, I'm going to do it. That bit there that I've just hit, I thought when I made it, I didn't have the lights at the time, and I thought the lights came up to that point, but they don't. They come up to about there. There's an alley bit there that if you don't straighten it out and take it to where it drops down, well, it looks shit. So you need to deal with that. Also, you can go in here and clean out your seams in there. On the DA. Always keep your bits because you're going to use them for getting in amongst nooks and crannies and stuff like that. So recycle a little bit. If you can see all that mottle in there, what it is, it's the sun shining through the window and lighting up the gel coat, and you can see all the brush marks and everything. You can't see that from the front at the minute because of the way the light is. I also can't see the surface. But use the machine at this stage as much as you can, because the next stage, it's pretty much hand sanding. After the primer, I'll maybe knock the big bits back with the sander, but you know, the big flat areas. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm knocking flat areas, but pretty soon it just gets onto the block and the sandpaper, and you're doing everything by hand. So make the most of the sander while you can, save yourself a bit of work. So there's certain bits that you'll be able to hit with the sander. Don't do you can roll over a curved crest like that, but don't hit crests like that because you'll just create flat spots. So I've got all the bits that I can on the back there with the DA, but now I'll be going in by hand to get that curve and all these bits and those bits and bits around there and everything. So there's quite a bit to do there, but I've just found a cavity, look. And this is something that happens with fiberglass. I was struggling with this issue. Sometimes it will just bubble up and create these gaps. And this is a particularly tricky part of the clam to do. So now I'm faced with what I would do there. Do I break that out, or do I squidge filler into it until it's full? I think I'm going to squidge filler into it because the rest of it's alright. It's pretty strong in there. It's not. This is a big cavity though. This is the first cavity I've found on any of the stuff that the new laminator's been doing. So you want to get it out as much as you can. Obviously it's strong in behind, but it's just dipped down there when he's been doing that bit. So I think I might just push filler into it and then I don't mess up my shape, because otherwise if I bust that right out I'm then going to have to reshape that whole bit, and that's already pretty strong. It's just like I say, a little cave. So you get it out as much as you can so you can work some filler into it. It's quite a big one though, but the fact that it's big means that I can get in there. Yeah, there's fiberglass in there both sides, so I think I'll just squidge that full of filler and then I've just got that bit to shape rather than having that whole area to shape and taking that right out and having a big lump of filler in it. Just show you what that looks like with the filler in. So I've done a bit more on the seams there, a bit in there, that bit there. It's not just that bit, there's a bit there as well that's a bit wonky on both sides, so that's them filled, and then that's glopped full of filler. I'd thinned it down a little bit, so I've had to put a bit, I might actually have to work that a little bit. It's sagging, but I squeezed it in until it came out the other side, so I know that cavity is absolutely full. And then again, see there, that's the edge of the top bit. It'd probably be enough there, actually. It's probably sitting high enough, but I just want to push that slop down there a little bit further up so it stays put. In fact, thinking about it, got a filler card there. I just push that. I'm just going to stick that onto there like that. I'm going to get another one just to... Filler cards all over the place. Pull that up to there just to make sure it's there. Right, I'm going to leave that there and then there, and then that'll stop it slopping out until it firms up, and then that filler card will just peel off like a bit of mobile shuttering. Right, been here 3 hours today. I don't know how many hours I spent on it yesterday, but it's just about there as far as the underneath side goes from this angle. A couple of little bits that I need to just locate, just shiny bits and stuff, but I've got the filler done around here. It's just first rub, so like it's all done with the machine. Next stage will be primer, and then it'll all be getting done by hand, but all the way around the arches, haven't rubbed all this. I'll do that I might do that bit actually, but just because it's at head height. But done the lip of the arch, the seam that runs right the way along there, that's all down here. That's all done now. So I'm almost at a stage where I'm going to do that bit there because it's a low part and it saved me back flipping doing it that way. I've done into the lights, I've done all this here. Hit that, but I haven't really done much on the underneath side because it's easier to do it with it the other way up. Round the vents right now, obviously I sanded them from the back, and then that's me repair on there, which definitely saved a little, saved a little bit of work on the, if I took it all out, then it would have been a little bit harder to do. Well, it wouldn't be harder, but it's just a little bit less work to do it like that. Obviously she's still got some pinholes in it. Tidied up around here. All this is sanded in here. Again, I've sanded that section. I watch what my hand's doing and not what the camera's doing. I've still got bits to get in there, but it'll be easier. You can see it shining there. Need to get rid of all the shine, or 99% of the shine anyway. But it'll be easier getting that from when it's flipped over. So I want to get a bit Scotch Brite just around there, just to get into the tight little bits in there. So I think I'll rub these areas here 180, and then I'm ready to flip it over. I've got Scotch Brite in there as well, just to sandpaper doesn't get into the rough bits as easy. So yeah, I'll do those bits on the side. Final check of like Scotch Brite in there, and just kind of get the last of the shiny bits, and then it's ready to flip over. But just to give you an idea of timing, I'm like 3.5 hours into that today, plus what I did yesterday on it, which was a lot of the day with trimming the edges and tidying all these bits up and trimming these back to a consistent line and working around these bits. Yeah, you could say I'm probably 8 hours into this clam, and there's still a load to do the main bulk of the body, but these are all the fiddly bits. You know, it really is, and it does make a massive difference just on the way it looks. I don't know whether you can really tell on the camera what it is now to what it was before, but it's so much neater. It's softer looking, like, I don't know whether that makes sense, but like all the edges look softer. There's no sharp jaggy bits. It's not messy at all. It's nice and neat, and like I say, you know, I can run my hand around there and not get a bloody fiberglass splinter. You know, it's all smoothed off and all the edges are softened off. So do a little bit more in them recesses, those sides, and then I'm going to flip it over. But that gives you an idea on how you're probably going to spend 2 days on the clam, prepping the clam for primer. That seems about right. Just so you know what to expect. 113 hours we're at. So spin you around. I haven't got the lights on in here yet. Just got here. Bumpers primed, guy coded, and needs rubbed. It's pretty damn close. I've just been fitting up the doors and the side skirts last time I was here, just to make sure everything's lining up. That's not quite bolted on, but when that's bolted back properly, all the gaps are pretty good. I just wanted to make sure that door was sitting right, well, both doors were sitting right, so that, because I'm taking moulds of those, so I wanted to make sure everything was right before I take the moulds. Oh look, Total Kit Car magazine with the RB200 on the front cover. It's a good read, that, if you want to check that out. Same on this side. I guide coated them. I've filled the pinholes, but I haven't like really blocked anything yet. But I fired a guide coat over it anyway. And then through here, the last thing you're seeing is getting ready to do anyway was prime this. So that's the rear clam all primed up. It's pretty good, to be fair. Quite happy with it. Now you can see around here, like, there's no marks or anything. It's all nice and smooth. You can see a little line running around there. That's because there's a high spot, and it's where I've like been hitting it with the sander or whatever. So I need to come in now and shape all that gently, carefully. There's little bits. See that little bit there? You need to get that, you know. So it's at this stage that you start to see that, and if you don't deal with that, it'll look shit. Right, so pinholes. I went round with primer after, I didn't get them all though, look, I missed loads. Went round with primer while I still had some primer in the pot and just dabbed it into the pinholes. It works on some of them, it doesn't work on all of them. Some of them will like re-pop out. But it's a good way of getting a lot of them, because the primer rubs at the same speed as the primer. If you put filler in there, it's harder, so it rubs a little bit slower, so like it's just more difficult. I was really taking it to the limits of the concept there. That needs a little bit of filler in it. But I got 90% of the pinholes. Everything's looking pretty good though. Like I say, under the arches, under all these edges, nice and smooth. All tickety-boo. Pinholes there. And the ones that I haven't got, I'll just put a little bit of filler in, and you need to get them at this stage. But I'm just going to leave this for now, because I want to get the moulds done of the doors. So I'm going to focus on them today. Something else to show you. Don't know whether you're going to be able to see this now. Can you see? Yeah, you can, right? So a little bit of a shadow, a little bit of a shadow, a little bit of a shadow. Obviously I've filled and rubbed around this corner. Now those are all highs and lows. Again, it's subtle, but if you don't then go in and very carefully block that, because I'm just hitting that with flipping 80 grit and a bit of 180 just to get the seam gone, you know. But again here, can you see? Let's see if I can find it. It's there. There's a little raised bit on that switch. There it is, see? So what's happened is I've sanded that a little bit too much, and it's raised that line up, that swage line there, that body line, it's raised it up. So again, you need to go in and make sure that all these are right, and this is where attention to detail really comes in. There's a mark there that I've missed on. See that line there? So I'll go in and I'll sort that. There's still lots of bits to sort on it, but all the jobs are a lot smaller than they were. And like I say, you've got to pay a bit more attention to the finer details, because once you put a gloss on that, that will look like a fat bird's arse, you know. It's going to have flipping cellulite all over it. You need to get it. You need to get it as right as you can. So anyway, the other thing that I was thinking of, I was watching back one of the videos, and earlier on in this video probably, I was talking about primer. I just wanted to mention like the fan pattern. I'm going to draw a side view as well. That's your panel, there's your spray gun, your nozzle. Your fan's coming out like that and hitting the panel. And you want to be a distance, I don't know, like, probably like, if you look at your gun, if you look at the spray gun there, which is in bits, that one, you don't want to be there. That's way too close. It's probably about a gun's distance away the ideal operating distance from the panel, which is almost what I've drawn there. When you're going along like this, so you spray to the right, and like I say, your fan's hitting there, but it's actually sort of leveling out about there. So like, don't soak it to bits there. Keep an eye on it just in behind the gun about there, and that's more where the finish is. And if it's too dry, slow down a little bit. If it's too wet, you're going to get runs. And if it's too wet, you're probably like trying to wet it at that point. But anyway, you're going to come along, and then you're going to drop down to a 50% overlap, right? So you're going to come down there, and the fan's that big. So now you're going to come down. The center of that one is now there. And drop down again, 50% overlap, 50% overlap. So that one's to there, that one's to there. So by the time you've done that, that section's hit once, and then you come down on that pass, that section gets hit again, and that section's hit once. So that's twice, that's once. And then you come down again, and now that becomes twice, and that one's once. And then when you get to the edge of your panel, so you come down to there, you want you're going to let 50% of the spray disappear off into the air, because you still want that bottom lip to have essentially two coats in one pass with a 50% overlap. Does that make sense? Yeah? Give us a thumbs up if it makes sense. Right, so your fan. This is what happens if you have your fan too wide, like too much like this. What it'll do, you'll have very little paint in the middle, and you'll have a spot of paint there and there. Obviously, so when you're like trying to get your 50% overlap, it's going to be all over the place because the middle bit isn't getting enough, you know. You want everything as coated as evenly as possible. The adjuster on your spray gun, which is that one on the side there, that adjusts the fan. That's full fan, and that's no fan. So you want it about there. So spray, you want to test your spray gun, so you're going to go to like a bit of paper like this on the walls, just tape to the wall, and you're going to hit it, and you'll see if you've got too much fan, because it'll be heavy on the outside edges and thin on the middle. You're aiming to pull it in so that it gives you a nice consistent oval. If you've got it a bit too far in, it'll look like that. It'll look like that, so it'll be wider in the middle and tighter at the top. And obviously, because when it's like that, you're getting more paint distribution in that middle. On these ones, you're getting more paint distribution on these outer edges and not enough in the middle. Then you can get it all the way down to a spot, which is going to be like heavy amounts of paint all in one area. You might use that for getting into tight areas, for instance. It often, you know, it just comes in handy, but you wouldn't go full trigger. You would just feather the trigger to get into an area like that, you know. Sometimes, say like if I was painting the inside of this and I needed to get up into the back of there, you couldn't get your fan into there. But if you tighten it down to a spot, it'll shoot like a flipping cannon and go right up into there. So there is certain circumstances where you would, get down to a spot, but generally you don't need to do that. In normal circumstances, you want your fan pattern to look like that. And there's an example of me testing the fan, and that's actually quite a good example of it. That there's pretty good, that there's too tight, that's way too tight, and that's spot on. Yeah? And, you can see I've been doing it on the door, I've been doing it on the wall. Look, see? Spot. Dodgy shaped fan. If your gun needs cleaned and the nozzles aren't all cleaned out, you might get a fan that's heavier at the bottom than the top. So that's an indicator that your spray gun's probably needing cleaned out. That's how you test your fan, and it's important because if you don't have a fan like that, then you're going to get inconsistent passes. Hope that helps, because at the end of the day, these videos, I want these videos to be educational and show you how to do this so that you learn from it and that you can do it yourself. I really want you to be able to do this yourself. John from 7 Spot, I was talking to him last night. He was saying that he likes my videos because I show warts and all. What else is there? If I don't show you the bad stuff and how to put it right, because nothing's perfect, like life's like that, nothing's perfect, and shit goes wrong, So, you might think that you go on great guns and then all of a sudden everything fucks up. So you've got to know how to fix things. I think the difference between a professional and amateur is an amateur, we all fuck things up, but a professional just gets on and fixes it. An amateur walks away and blames his tools and blames this and blames that and blames the other. Professionals, half the time, you don't even know they're fucked up because they just fix it, And so having the knowledge to fix it gives you the confidence that you're going to be able to do the job in the first place. So I'm showing you where I fuck up. I'm showing you the things that aren't perfect. The kit isn't absolutely perfect. It's not out of the box, fit straight to your car. You got to do body work, But there's the fact that you have to do body work gets you a lot more, let's say, intimate with your car. You're going to know every single square centimetre of those panels, and that's a good thing. Also, learning to do body work, I find it very therapeutic. I really like taking something that doesn't look perfect and making it look as perfect as possible. I get a lot of enjoyment out of that, and I hope that you're going to too. The kit isn't 1,000% perfect. There's little marks in it, and there's little mold marks in it, and there's little dips in it, and there's seams in it, and you're going to have to do this body work. So showing you how to prime stuff and do the filler and all that sort of stuff is a really important part of it. And although John will say like he likes that I show like warts and all, I don't even see it as warts. It's just how it is, And if you don't learn to deal with the shit, I think that like the quality, it's a good metaphor for life, isn't it? Like if life's like a series of problems, if you want to look at it in a negative way, life's like a series of problems. And the better you get at solving them problems and fixing those problems dictates the quality of your life. It's the same with a car, So it's a good thing to learn these things and for you to learn these things. So that's why I'm showing you as much as possible. So anyway, that's me done waffling. I'm going to take that out of there. I'm going to take the doors off the car. I'm going to get them blocked, give them another coat of primer, and then start getting them, well, I probably won't be able to do much more with them because it'll be drying, but the plan will be to get those ready for moulding. I don't know whether I might just go with the mould off the primer. The original mould, I tried to make it so that it was super glossy and so that you could get a gel coat finish. Sharp learned that you ain't going to get a gel coat finish. You were going to have to bodywork this thing, and you were going to have to prime it, and you're going to have to paint it. Me taking a mould off primer doesn't really fucking matter because you're going to have to bodywork it anyway, so saves a bit of time and money.